And welcome everybody to the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show live here on ESS, the Empire State Sports. We're live here from the Riverview Bar and Restaurant in Brazier Falls, New York on Route 11C. We're going to have a great time here the next hour. We're talking to Mr. Scott Mitchell, a great family friend, and I can't wait to start the interview. I'm here with my partner, Joey Riom, and we're about to get things started. Scott, I want to welcome you to the program.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me.
All right, Joey, thank you very much for being here also today.
Great to be here with Scott.
What a beautiful day here in northern New York. A lot of basketball, baseball, softball, some fishing going on. A lot of bikers here today. We're trying to move away from the noise so we don't get overran by the bar scene out there and also a band going on. But we're going to come right back with Scott Mitchell here on ESS and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show live here on ESS, the Empire State Sports. We're here with Scott Mitchell today, and before we get to Scott, we're going to go through our spring sponsors because without them, we won't be able to pay the bills. We hope everybody goes out and supports our sponsors because they support us. Schatz Deli, the Rural Oil and Quick Stop, T19 Sports, the Tarbell Management Group, owners of the Bears Den, Tim Hortons, and Papa John's, Subway Subs, where you always eat fresh, Seacom, Federal Credit Union, Aquasasani Sports, Mohawk Vision, NewMed out of Hopkinton, New York, Good Now Insurance, Personal Touch, the Riverview Bar and Restaurant, Seamless Gutters, our corporate sponsor out of Rhode Island, Eastern Foods, Phoenix Physical Therapy on Frogtown Road in Hogansburg, the Rue Lodge and Quick Stop in St. Regis Falls. We'd like to thank NNY Sports and Scott Wilhelm out there, and also plugging us, excuse me. Also like to thank a very close friend, John Goki at the Malone Telegram at www.mymalonetelegram.com, helping us out, get us on our feet here a couple years ago. You can check out our website anytime at www.empirestatesports.com and check out all of our upcoming broadcasts, our previous archive broadcast, and just a little bit of variations of everything on our website. And we thank Michelle Bartlett for everything she does behind the scenes for that website. The broadcast you're listening to is a property of ESS, Empire State Sports. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or accounts of this broadcast without the express written consent of ESS is prohibited. Well, we're going to get right into it with Scotty here. I've known this gentleman since he was born. I'm going to embarrass you right off the bat. I remember him running around in diapers with a little Nerf ball in his living room at home and playing on the little plastic basketball net. I don't know if you even had memories about that, do you?
Quite a few, actually. I remember playing at Grandpa and Grandma Mitchell's quite a bit on this little plastic. It was a laundry basket, actually, with a little aluminum foil ball that my grandmother would make me. And I did it at my parents' house, too, all the time. That's what I played in.
So you were shooting from all angles to shoot it right in the basket, or right into the laundry basket?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. It was great times way back then. I think life was simpler back then. Scott was born on September 23rd, 1985. He is the son of Randy and Carla Mitchell on the Sales Road. Great friends of mine. Has one brother, Logan, who is actually coming into his own, actually as an athlete also. I watched a couple of his games. He's going to be quite the athlete also.
I hope so. He's a pretty talented kid. He loves the game. Right now he's really starting to love basketball. I've been at the gym with him a little bit over the last couple of months, doing individual workouts with him, and I've enjoyed it tremendously because when he was younger, it was tough for me to really spend a lot of time with him. especially with athletics. But now that he's a little bit older and I'm kind of settled down with my wife, I'm able to spend some more time with him. So
What grade's Logan in now?
Logan is going into 10th next year.
Wow.
Hard to believe.
Yes, it is.
He's 6 foot. I'm 5'2".
What happened there?
I don't know. Gotta ask Dad. I don't know.
Anyway, your mother wrote a little thing, doodad, here to tell us about that. From the first day, you knew that Scott's love for sports was deep in his heart, and she did mention she can remember that at the age of 6 months, everything he saw was found like a shape of a ball. They would get him, and he was so excited. Started playing basketball in the living room as soon as he could walk. I still remember that day, and he never had the time when we didn't see a ball flying past our heads, knocking stuff off on the counter. I remember that. We used to throw it back and forth, and your father and myself, and we'd miss it, I don't know, a couple times. And then your mother would come out of the back room and just yell at us, screaming, "What are you boys doing in here?"
Oh, yeah.
Good old days.
For sure.
But anyway, Scotty, your first love really wasn't basketball. I mean, you did have a ball in your hand, but you played a lot of Little League and soccer also, and you really have a love for the baseball game.
I do. I miss it tremendously. I don't get to play it much anymore. I'd like to get into a couple of softball leagues, but some of my most fondest memories were playing Little League baseball. A lot of the guys that I met through Little League, All-Stars, States, I still keep in contact with to this day. There was nothing like playing with those guys. Coming all the way from Malone, playing with guys from Peru, Ogdensburg, Gouverneur, and going to States was a tremendous feeling, and I'll never forget it at all, for sure.
Well, and you had the pleasure of, at that time, playing for Gary Onkoski, and Gary still involved all these years later with baseball over in Franklin County, and he involves North Florence youth baseball. And as you've gotten older, it's got to become to the point where, I know we're going to talk about your coaches as we move on with this interview, but it's people like Gary Onkoski that they do things for the youth, and that's where it all starts. And I'm sure you got some fond memories of not only that trip, but some of the things that he may have taught you, and some of the advice he may have given teaching you the game of baseball. Where did the States take place, by the way, when you played that?
States were in Syracuse, and I remember the state semifinal game. We got beat by Poughkeepsie 3-2.
And you remember?
I do remember.
That a good athlete always does.
I just saw Gary actually probably a week ago. We had a conversation about it, and he remembers. This is what I love about Gary. He remembers in detail that entire game.
That doesn't shock me.
He's a dedicated person to the youth baseball organization in Malone, and I think that's one thing that I have taken from him, is dedication. I still see him, and we always shoot the breeze every time I see him, and I feel like Gary hasn't changed since the first day I met him.
Well, and I don't want to get off the beaten path, but I'm glad there are people like Gary that still care about the game of baseball. I love the game of baseball. Didn't end up playing it as I went forward. I became a golfer, but I think all you guys, both of you, know that baseball is becoming a sport that kids just aren't interested in. It's a slower paced sport, and they lead a faster style life. Lacrosse is creeping in up here and becoming a big deal. So it's good to know that Gary is still trying to keep kids involved with baseball as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I met a lot of the guys that even I played with in high school. Josh Charlo. We played state baseball together. And I met Josh when we were this big, and going up through, we battled it out quite a bit.
Yeah, Norfolk, yeah. Jeez.
Now, Scotty, we're going to move on a little bit. That you took off in your bitty ball career here in Brush and Moira, and your dad had a hand in that once in a while, practices and coaching when he could. But you started off at Moira Central, and then went on to play JV ball in 7th grade, which is very unheard of. I can probably get a handful of people that I know that actually did that. But it was different back then. We didn't have all the. You didn't have to go through all the tests like the physical tests that we have to go through now with Section 10 to try to get the kid to jump 10 feet from standing and all that. I just never could figure that out, and I think that hindered a lot of kids coming up to possibly play at a higher level. And you were one of the ones that started off in 7th grade at JV. Now, I don't want to go too fast here and go into your varsity career because you had a stellar career at Brush and Ware, but the youth program at Brush and Ware used to be a staple up here in the North Country, and for a while thereafter, it kind of went to the wayside, but it's starting to build back up again. Do you recognize seeing that also? And what was your thoughts when you came up through the Biddy Ball program?
When I was in Biddy Ball, Roland Moakland ran the program, and Roland does a really, really good job with the youth, I think. And most of Brushton's success over the years, I think, came from kids playing Biddy basketball and Roland starting them out along with Danny Cleaves. Danny Cleaves had a hand in that as well. But now that it's gone, I know it is coming back a little bit, but as you've seen over the last couple of years, actually probably 5 or 6 years, the talent at Brushton hasn't been what it should be, but it also stems from them playing at a young age. If you get them in the gym, they start to gain an interest. I think it's just really important for them to be in the gym at a young age, and you'll see results from there. I mean, look at Chateauguay and look at all these great teams around that are doing youth programs like Ogdensburg, and I know that you are too, Joe. But the sooner you start them out, the better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my son's in 7th grade, so it's been 5 years now of being around. And those are the two schools, Ogdensburg and Chateauguay. When you play them, they're running varsity stuff already at the 7th and 8th grade level. So, but they're together constantly, and they're focused on it. It's. And I'm not jealous of them at one bit. I think it's awesome that they're able to gel together like that and do that. And I know Brushton used to do that, and I think they'll be getting back to that. They've been active in everything that I've seen so far this year. So
good.
Hopefully at some point it'll gel for them again.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to come right back. We're going to take our first break here after the first segment here. We've been talking to Scott Mitchell here on ESS and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. We'll come back and we'll talk about Scotty moving up into the JV and varsity levels at Brush and Ware. We'll be right back after this break.
Make the smart choice. Choose North Country Community College, because where you earn your college degree does matter. With more employers requiring college degrees, North Country is the right choice to earn a high-quality, in-demand degree. Our national reputation for offering exceptional academics prepares students for direct entry into a career and places our graduates at the head of the line with employers. Complete a free application at nccc.edu. Financial aid is available for those who qualify. nccc.edu. In a place like no other, a college like no other, North Country.
And welcome back to the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show, live here on ESS, the Empire State Sports. We're live from the Riverview Bar and Restaurant, 37C in downtown Brazier Falls, New York. We have the privilege of interviewing Scott Mitchell here on the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. And we were coming off a break, and we were going to go right into his high school career, where he jumped into JV basketball in 7th grade. And I'm going to let Joey Ream take it from here.
All right, Scotty. So 7th grade, again, back then, I don't know, did you have to pass the test? Okay.
I did.
Yeah, and now it's a lot stricter than it was way back when you when you got on there. But your JV coach was Brad Dufresne, and obviously Brad later went on to coach the varsity and led Brushton back to their first Class C championship since Gary had left. Sometime remember those times with Brad, some highlights, with him, and anything to say about Brad? I'm sure he's going to be listening to this at some point.
Can't really say enough about Brad. I had the pleasure. He actually inducted me into the Brushton Hall of Fame last year, and it was awesome. I called him and asked him if he would give me the honor of doing that for me, and I can't say enough about Brad. I miss him being around the program at Rushton for sure, and we had a lot of great times together all through JV and varsity. I remember my JV career. I played for Brad, moved up to varsity my 10th grade year, and played for Gary. It was a big change at the time, moving from from JV to varsity, and Gary was a whole nother person. Everybody knows Gary. He was tough, and he was very hard on me at first, but it made me a better player for sure. And then I actually was able to take my sophomore year. I did really well. Junior year I did really well, and I actually was able to play for Brad my senior year, because that's when Brad came back to the varsity program. So.
And obviously, the couple of years that you played for Gary. Now, do you have any contact with Gary? Have you seen Gary at all?
I saw Gary at the induction for the Hall of Fame last year for the first time since 2002. He actually went to Hawaii with me. We took Gary, my father and my grandfather, my grandpa Trim, and Gary all were able to come over to Hawaii when I went to Tourney Sport. It was awesome.
And tell us a little bit about that Hawaii trip. How you qualified for that? Who you were with? Other than that, some players. Anybody else that was it local? Was it a national team? What was that all about?
It was Tourney Sport USA, and actually, what happened was you receive a letter in the mail if you're one of the so many players that are selected. Throughout the United States, you have to raise a certain amount of money. I was fortunate enough, my mom really took the initiative to raise a bunch of money for me to go over. She didn't get to go. She still holds that against me a little bit. But it was myself, my dad, my grandfather, and we took Gary as well. We raised enough money for all of us to go over. We were in... we were on Waikiki Beach. My dad stayed at Turtle Bay Resort. We played at BYU campus. I met guys from all over the country, still keep in contact with those guys. Logan McAllister from Kansas, I still talk to at least once a month. There's another kid, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, from Indiana that I do keep in contact with a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I made relationships and met coaches, and it was an awesome experience. It's something that I can never do again, but hopefully that my kids will have the same opportunity, hopefully. Well,
that's a great experience, I'm sure. I never heard of anybody else from up around here getting an opportunity like that, so that was awesome. And maybe someday you can take your mom back to Hawaii to make it up to her.
Just tell her to go by herself. Sorry, Carla. But you did this all your junior year. Which is spectacular. I mean, I was quite amazed when I started reading it, and I actually remember and forgot about it at the same time. Mm-hmm. When I was going through your bio. It's like, oh, I remember he did go there. Yeah. And what a privilege that would be for any kind of student, or player, excuse me, but. You had how was the caliber of ball out there? I mean, was it totally different kind of ball than we had here, or was it just a certain age group? I mean, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
It was definitely different in terms of the quality and level of play. I remember when I first got there, I was actually a second-string point guard. I wasn't very happy about it. But then, after the first couple of games, I came to my own, and at first I was a little bit out of sorts because we were traveling over from New York, and I was a little bit nervous as a junior, and but once I got settled, we actually won the championship.
Really?
For the whole tournament. There was a kid that we had from North Carolina. I can't remember his name. I don't really keep in contact with him, but he was a stud.
How much time did you get to prepare for? I mean, did you get a couple practices in, or was it just you were winging it?
No, we were able to practice a couple of days, and then the tournament started on the third day. And the rest of the 5 days, I mean, you were pretty much playing basketball the entire time.
So in no time you guys had a chance to pre-practice until you met the guys there?
Right.
Really?
And even with just a couple of practices, we all three of us know that takes some special players. Now we're talking all-star caliber players that probably all score, and now you got to share the basketball, and to try to. So obviously, you guys gelled together the quickest if you were able to win this thing.
We actually lost the first game, and we got beat badly. We got beat really bad. And I remember our coach coming to us at the, because we stayed at BYU campus. He came into the dorms and to see us. And he said, guys, we're going to be okay. He was from Tennessee originally, this guy. Great guy. I don't remember his name either. But after the first game, we never lost another game. I think we won every game by like 10 or 15. And we played the team that beat us.
I was just going to ask you. Yeah.
We played them in the championship game, and we beat them handily by 15 or 20.
Oh, awesome.
Really?
But we were really, really talented. Some of the other teams there weren't so talented that we played against, but we got lucky. I mean, I'm not really sure how they choose the rosters.
I was going to say, were you selected by region or?
I think it might have been. Now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the guys were from the East Coast, from Kansas, further east. But those guys were just a great group of guys. Hawaii, there's nothing like Hawaii.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd like to know how they selected names also. I mean, did their coach put in for you, or how does that work? Or
Well, like Joey was just talking about, he had never heard that anybody else had been selected, but Kent Goodrow actually went.
Oh, really?
Kent Goodrow. I don't know if you remember Kent. He played. He would have graduated a couple of years after me from St. Regis Falls.
Yeah.
But he did go over to it as well. I'm 95% sure he did go over. But I think it's you are nominated by your coach, and if you get a selection letter, you have to come up with the money to go. It's not free by any means.
Right.
But we raised the money. We were lucky enough. So
What an experience.
it was awesome.
I wish I would have been able to go. Oh my goodness.
I wonder if I can go over as a coach, Pete.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'll bring the headsets along.
That's a good question, though. I'd like to know how they choose the coaches too.
Yeah.
I don't know how that all works.
I mean, I've won a couple of Class C championships. That should.
I know.
No, not good enough.
I didn't say anything. I was just happy to rub elbows with Jim Boeheim down in Syracuse just for a photo op, so I was good with that. Who was the coach and where was he? You said you don't remember off the top of your head?
I know he was from Tennessee. I cannot remember his name.
And these are high school coaches that you were playing for?
Yes. Yep.
So.
Now, it states here that, let me see, experience. Yeah, do you average 16 points a game? Was that 16 points a game there? Did you ask, or is that in something else?
That's probably my.
No, it's not.
I'm skipping a line here. Okay, that was back in Northern Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
Which wasn't shabby. But so let's move on from your junior and senior year. Captain your senior year,
Yes.
and not a shabby player. I actually saw a couple games before you moved on to college, and named the Northern Athletic Conference East MVP of the MVP of the league in the Eastern Conference. And I also was a finalist, one of the 5 finalists for the coveted Jakowski Award. Actually, that was in your junior year.
That was my junior year.
And then we move on to your senior year. Not a bad senior year. Won the Joe Jakowski Award. And then there was this, you were co-MVP of the league with Jared Dumas, who we've had here on. And Jared and you guys get along real well.
He was the best man at my wedding.
I know. It's kind of. I got to go back to that. Let's back up a little bit because back in my day, your father and I were best friends, but we come from rival schools. Brushamore and Chateauguay, rival schools.
Yes.
How does that pan out? How did that all pan out at the end? In the end,
It's kind of funny how it all did work out. I remember Coach Ledoux, he came to one of my games my senior year, and he recruited me pretty heavily from there on forward. It was actually at Potsdam State. It was one of the tournaments at Potsdam State over either Thanksgiving break or winter break. And, I obviously knew Jared and I we battled, my junior and senior year. So back then we had Instant Messenger, AOL Instant Messenger, and I started actually sending Jared messages on Instant Messenger and asked him what he was going to do for college. Where are you going to go to school? He said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to North Country and play for Coach Ledoux. He's been recruiting me pretty heavily, and obviously you know how I feel about Chad. I could go on for days about Chad Ledoux. But I said, I think I'm going to go on and play for Chad, and Jared was like, I'm thinking about Plattsburgh. I'm not really sure what I want to do. And from there, I went to Coach Ledoux and said, hey, there's this kid from Chateaugay who I think is going to be a stud. I know that you want me to come, but it'd be awesome if you could get both of us. I think you should maybe go talk to him. That's how Chad actually started talking to Jared about coming to North Country. And we play really, really well together still to this day. I love playing with Jared. I don't even think about the high school days anymore. I just think about us.
Oh, he remembers them.
Oh, I know he does.
I'm going to tell you that right now. He remembers them real well. But you go on and you play your co-MVPs with Jared. Of course, your senior year from Chateaugay. He averaged 21 points. You averaged what? Do you remember your senior year?
22. I think I averaged 22
Did you?
my senior year, yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't have that on here.
No,
We just got to look at the assist category.
I don't know if he averaged or if Jared averaged.
I bet you it was Scotty that averaged 21.
Okay, 21 points, 8 assists, and 4 steals a game. That's you?
Yes.
Jared,
Okay, because I don't think Jared could steal the ball.
Well, he wasn't getting assists either.
Yeah,
21 points, yes.
Be careful what we're saying on here.
yeah, he wasn't afraid to shoot at all. So, well, that's another story. But anyway, I also joined a 1,000 point club in his senior year at Brushamore. All right, I'm trying to figure out what I wrote here. Let's take a break. How about that? And then we'll come back for the next segment and we'll figure out where the heck my hand scratching is going. We're here listening to Scotty Mitchell here on ESS and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. We'll be right back after this break.
Seacom Mobile Branch is now more convenient than ever. Mobile deposit capture is here. With this new free service, Seacom members can deposit checks into their Seacom account from anywhere using the Mobile Branch app and simply taking a picture of the check with their web-enabled cell phone. Very nice when it's 20 below, the wind is howling, and you forgot to deposit your check. To learn more, go to seacom.org, stop it in any of our convenient locations, or give us a call. Check us out on Facebook. Your funds are federally insured by the NCUA.
And welcome back to the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show, live here on EmpireStateSports.com, ESS. And we're talking to Scott Mitchell, and we're up to his senior year in high school. But before we go back to that, we're going to go through our spring sponsors. And we hope everybody goes out and supports our sponsors because they support us. Schatz Deli, the Rural Oil and Quick Stop, T19 Sports, the Tarbell Management Group, owners of the Bears Den, Tim Hortons and Papa John's, Subway Subs, we always eat fresh, Seacom Federal Credit Union, Aquasasni Sports, Mohawk Vision, NewMed, The Now Insurance, Personal Touch, Riverview Bar and Restaurant, Seamless Gutters, Eastland Foods, our corporate sponsor out of Rhode Island, Phoenix Physical Therapy, the Rue Lodge and Quick Stop. I'd also like to thank Scott Wilhelm at NNYsports.com, John Goki at the Malone Telegram at www.mymalonetelegram.com, our website at www.EmpireStateSports.com. Check out that for a lot of things that are coming up here shortly. Also, the broadcast you're listening to is a property of ESS, the Empire State Sports. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or accounts of the broadcast without express written consent of ESS is prohibited. And before we go any further, I just want to thank a dear friend who just got inducted to the Salmon River Hall of Fame yesterday. Truly well-deserving Mr. Sanford T. Cook from WMSA. Sanford worked with me for about 3 hours last week out in WMSA to try to help me with my editing as far as our interviews. And actually, we had a whole team of guys in there for about 3 hours. We had 3 techs come in and all sorts, but we got through it, and I want to thank him. But congratulations on your induction into the Salmon River Hall of Fame, and I'll turn it back over to Joe Rio.
Okay, and we're back with Scott Mitchell. And Scotty, we're going to get into the fact that your senior year you won the Joe Jakowski Award. Now, you were a finalist your junior year, which in itself is quite an honor, because not too many juniors get in that position. And more often than not, when the junior is nominated, just decent chance you're going to see him back his senior year, and you won it your senior year. So that's got to be something. That plaque, when you see it in Maxey Hall, usually it's hanging in Ogdensburg actually this year because that's the last place I saw it. But when they bring it back to Maxey during playoff time, that's got to be quite the honors to know that your name's up on that plaque. For forever.
Yeah, for sure. In some good company, there's a lot of good players that came out of Section 10 that didn't even win the award.
Right.
But it was a special honor, that's for sure. Even being nominated as a junior, I was very surprised to even be nominated, and it was an honor. I kind of knew that I probably wouldn't win it my junior year, but just to be nominated was tremendous.
Now, when do you guys? I guess I'm bewildered about all this. When do you guys get notified that you're actually a finalist?
Good question. It's been so long.
Well, it's usually
because those guys that come down on the floor don't look shocked to me.
Oh no, they know about it.
So I just didn't know how long in advance they knew about it. So.
No, they know. Obviously, up to 20 because we have 24 teams in Section 10. I'm cutting into your interview here.
No, you're
but
fine.
We have 24 teams in Section 10, so there could be a maximum of 24 kids nominated, and then the referees get together, narrow it down to 4 finalists. They send a letter to any coach that nominated a kid and to the kid itself to let them know if they're a finalist or not, and they usually know by the last week of the season, because we usually have to have the nomination in by January 30th, which means we got a week to a week and a half left before playoffs start. So they usually know before playoffs start if they're a finalist or not. So it was right around that time. That's when Scotty would have found out.
That answered my question because they are shocked when they win because they don't know that until that specific time. But they I've seen this for years. They're coming down and starting down, and nobody. I mean, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be jumping in joy like I just won $1 million. If somebody nominated me for that. Yeah. So I didn't know how much far in advance they would know that.
Well, and so you had the pleasure of winning that, Scotty, and then that year also you became the first player to win not only the Joe Chakowski Award, but the same version of that in baseball, the Andy Pinkerton Award. So that says not just a lot about the ability you have in those two sports, but the type of person you are, because that's usually what these awards are based on, is not just your athletic prowess, but what you do in the classroom and how you carry yourself. So that says a lot, and you had to have been proud about that. Were you surprised at that one, at the baseball one?
I was really surprised at the baseball one, for sure. It all stems from my parents. My parents did a great job with me, having me at such a young age. Just treating people with respect is really what it came down to. Referees, umpires, they have probably the toughest job on the floor, on the baseball field. You're judging every single play. You're going to make mistakes no matter what. And as a player, I knew that. Even as a coach now, I have to tell myself that sometimes. I have to hit Ledoux sometimes, be like, hey, listen, they're going to make mistakes. We got to play through it. And there's times I was upset.
Sure.
I used to get upset.
Sure.
But, showing them respect, little things like the ball goes out of bounds, just going over and grabbing the ball, bringing it to them and say, here, so that they don't have to run over and grab it. Just certain little things that a lot of, nowadays I don't ever see that anymore. It's tough. No. I don't see it with some of the kids that we coach, but I will instill that in my kids.
Good.
I will do that for sure. That's something that I'll make sure that they do.
Well, and you're so smart on that. We talked earlier off air. I just came from the Can-Am tournament, and it's an AAU tournament, and these guys are working. The referees are working for $15 a game, and they're doing their 8th game of the day on a hot weekend. You got to cut them some slack, and granted, the kids are playing their 4th game of the day, and they're hot and tired too. But and now that you've got some coaching under your belt, do you find? Because one of the things I get commented on as me as a coach is I pick my spots. So when I do speak, they listen because I don't speak very often. And you probably have noticed that now as a coach. If I'm a good guy, when I do have something to say, they're probably going to pay attention to me.
Yes. Yes, I would agree with that. I've seen you coach a couple times, and I do like the way that you coach for sure. Just the way you handle yourself on the sideline. That's how I see myself handling myself on the sideline if I was a head coach. I've never had the opportunity to really be a head coach other than for AAU, but even during that time period.
I'm sure.
What's that?
soon, I'm sure. We
hope.
got to be working to that.
I hope. That's when I was coaching AAU, that's how I kind of handled myself, especially because I was a young person, coaching. Going into an AAU tournament, I wasn't going to go in there and be crazy. But that's just my personality anyway, on the floor.
Do you find, my gut tells me, because just knowing you and being around you, you're probably your focus, and it's the same thing I do. My focus is my kids, and that's it. I don't care what the other coach is thinking. I don't care if he's kicking and hollering. I don't care if he's hollering at my kids. Mm-hmm. All I care about are my kids and how are you handling yourself.
Yes.
Not even just the play. And I just know that that's the way you're going to be when the day comes for you. I just know that's how you're going to be. I can just sense that. I mean, you don't win these 2 awards without being a good sport and realizing that hey, the referees gave you these 2 awards.
Yes.
You're well respected.
Yes.
So.
And basically, in terms of the umpires, I knew some of the umpires, but not like I did for basketball. So that's what surprised me the most about the Pinkerton Award was, I knew a couple of the umpires, but not really to the point where I knew a lot of the referees. I mean, not that I really knew them, but at the same time, I knew of them more because I was in the gym more from my sophomore from my 7th grade year to my senior year. Whereas baseball, I didn't really start playing high school baseball until 10th grade, 9th grade maybe. I don't even think I played modified, if I remember correctly. I skipped from Little League and played my sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Was there a reason why you stopped playing baseball?
There was something going on at the school at the time, and I do not remember. I don't know if we didn't have a team.
Lack of funding, maybe,
Yes.
or was that we had a lot of problems way back then of budget issues. So and maybe that was what it was.
It could have been. It could have been that. But I just remember taking a couple of years off from baseball.
Well. Obviously, you didn't take too much off because you came back in your junior. You were named MVP of the team both your junior and senior year, but that's not where it ends. I mean, as a sophomore, you came back as a second team All Northern as a sophomore, and first team All Northern as a junior and senior. I mean, talk about natural talent, must be, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I know you don't want to brag on yourself.
No, yeah. It comes from Dad. I mean, it really does. It comes from my father. I remember him taking me outside and just pounding baseballs at me.
I can't see that.
But between basketball and baseball, my parents were there for me. I mean, from day one, they dragged me all over the state to play basketball, to play baseball. I mean, they did so much for me that I could never repay them. I mean, you never could.
You're repaying them.
I hope so.
You are.
Oh yeah.
With their granddaughter.
Before we get off, we've talked about your awards, but what about the teams in those years? And usually I get a good recollection, but I can't recall. I know Norwood was really good, but basketball-wise. Then did they nip you every year for Class C champions? Did you get one?
No, I never did get one, unfortunately. That was my junior year. It was the year that Potsdam was really good.
Potsdam.
Trevor Scott.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They went to the state Final Four.
Yep.
But we were a D school then. My junior year, we were a D school. My senior year, we moved to Class C.
You were up C.
We played Norwood my senior year and got beat by Norwood my senior year at the buzzer. Well, basically at the buzzer with 3 seconds left. We got beat by 1.
Yes, I remember the game.
Charlo scored at the buzzer.
Yes, I remember the game.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it very much.
I know.
It happens, though.
Now, Scott, we were talking during the break that there is one person since you that has got both of those honors, the Kelsey and Pinkerton, in it.
Gene Boyer. I had the opportunity to coach him at North Country with Coach Ledoux. A great kid and just a special athlete. He's way out of my caliber in terms of athleticism. I can't even hold a stick to what he can do on the court. I've never seen him play baseball, but just a tremendous athlete. He was a pleasure to coach, too. We had some issues with him, getting on the referees sometimes. He used to get on the referees, but over his career, as his career went further, his second year, he kind of calmed down a little bit, and he wasn't so bad as he was his freshman year. But special kid.
Pretty good in the classroom, though, too. Graduated 16th in your class with a 3.0 average. And, of course, there was only 17 in the class. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. And then we move on to college. You pick North Country Community College, which actually you work there now, and we'll get into that in a little while. But majoring in mathematics, and you played some basketball.
A little bit.
A little bit. Leading point guard for the team. Let me see. I'm trying to skip through here. Big turnaround going from. Before you answer that, people are gonna. We've covered a bunch of the games up there, and people say it's North Country Community. It's a junior college basketball. It can't be that great. What's it, like high school? It's not. No. There are some very talented people playing basketball at this junior college level, and it has to be a big jump for you going from high school to playing at a little school called North Country Community College, but actually it's a very good venue up there.
It is. Coming out of high school, I weighed about 90 pounds. So coming out of high school and going to that level, you guys have seen, some of the games at North Country now, and you see the level of play, and it was the same thing then as it is now. We have myself and we have Jared, who was 100 pounds soaking wet too, and we walk into a gym. And, the first year we went 16-9. We had a really good season. Chad came off a losing season the previous year, partly because he got the job late that first year that he began coaching. So his first recruiting class was myself and Jared, and his true first recruiting class. And some of the competition, I remember the first couple of games, I was just like, wow, these kids are athletic. It's nothing like I played against, in Section 10. All the guards that we played against were bigger, stronger, which most of the time that's the case with me anyway, but they were just tremendous athletes. And part of the thing that made us successful was we were smart. We were a smart team. We could read screens. We knew how to defend, and we knew when we could take possessions off if we needed to. And Chad did a really good job with us. He does a great job with his guys at getting them to buy in to him, and to our team as a family is really what it comes down to. Guys just buy in, whether it be number 1 guy on the depth chart or number 20. Typically, if they're there for the long term, they buy into what Chad has to say.
Well, and Scotty, I got to be honest. Before you came to me one night down in Glens Falls during state play, and asked me about Donovan Patra. Now, I knew North Country Community College had a team. I knew you played for them, but I had never seen a North Country game. And when you recruited Donnie, obviously my obligation became, okay, I got to start going up there and watch. So I got to watch some games, and I was amazed. I was like, I didn't realize the quality of ball that I had an hour away from me in the mountains, and I love going to the mountains. I'm like, I got to start coming up here more. And of course, with your small gym, it's almost a high school type atmosphere when that place gets rocking. Oh, yeah. You had to have enjoyed it, and now that we've had a chance to follow for these couple of years with Michael Boye and a lot of the Section 7 and Section 10 kids that Chad gives the opportunity to, that you guys give the opportunity to. It's good. I'm really glad that we're involved, and I know that you guys enjoy it. And you're absolutely right about Chad. He just, when we interviewed him, it oozes out of him how much he cares about you guys, which I love, because that's all coaching is to me, is about my boys. It's not about the winning and losing to me, and I just get that sense from you guys up at North Country. It's a great thing, both girls and boys, what you guys do.
Yeah, you cannot say enough about Chad and what he does for his kids. He's the type of person that he was very hard on me as a player, but it made me the person and player that I was. I didn't have that type of criticism, and it was constructive criticism. In high school, I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody that pushed me like Chad pushed me. He definitely made me the player I am now. I was obviously a pretty good player in high school, but at the same time, if I would have had him in high school. Not saying anything, about Brad or Gary, but he just pushed me to another level. And you're supposed to get that from the college level.
Right.
You're supposed to have a coach that's supposed to do that to you. I honestly can't say enough about Chad and the team that we had. My freshman year, we had a great team. In my sophomore year, we went 20-6. We were special. I mean, that we were the true definition of family. That team. We hung out together. We did stuff off the floor together. It is about things that you do on the basketball floor a lot of times, but it's also what you do off the floor. What you do as a team off the floor. We spent a ton of time together.
I think that has a lot to say about just the atmosphere at North Country. It's such a small knit community, and I can see after now. So my daughter, of course, is a freshman up there, just completed her freshman year, but she played on the soccer and softball team, and they're really tight knit. I mean, they go to the dinners together, like you said. They go out to the movies together. They do community sponsored stuff, and they're always hanging out at the hangout up there.
The Saints Hall?
The hangout in the middle of the campus there, where the food and
the Connector.
The Connector.
Yeah.
She always tells me that name, and I can't remember. But they're always hanging out there at Connector now, always having a good time. And I didn't see that at the high school level like I did up there at the college level.
North Country is a special place too, and obviously I'm there working now, but North Country is a special place. You're going to go there and you're going to see the facilities. I'm talking as an admissions counselor now. You're going to go there and see the facilities, and you're going to be like, wow, this, they're not beautiful. There's nothing beautiful about this place in terms of the facilities. But what makes that place what it is are the people. I mean, between the faculty, staff, the students, we all make it a great place to work at. I love working there. I mean, I enjoy going to work every single day. And I know a lot of people that can't say that.
We're waiting for our call to go up and work. So,
get a hold of the do.
Yeah. Don't worry, Evan. Anyway, we'll jump into your sophomore year, and then we'll take a break. In your sophomore year, you guys go 20-6, like you said. But on a personal level, you had some great highs your sophomore year. Led the nation in junior college basketball. Led the nation with an assist, with 9 assists per game, and also were ranked 20th and 3-point field goal percentage at 40.32. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
I find it hard to believe there were 19 people better than that. Did they only take 2 shots?
I don't know.
Yeah, but what's that based on? How many games is that based on?
40% is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
26 games, and you didn't miss any games, obviously, right?
I think I missed a couple. I had mono my
Oh, you did, really?
Yeah, my sophomore year. I missed a couple of games. Dumont never lets me live that down, that I missed a couple of games. That year, I had some guards around me. We played 4 out, 1 in my sophomore year. So we had 4 guys in the perimeter and 1 in the post. And we had a kid named Carl Sims, who basically, between Joe Akey and Carl, they split time in the post. Joe actually played with me at North Country as well. He was my roommate my sophomore year. And I had myself. We had Jared. Gerard Hall. I don't know if you guys remember Gerard. Gerard played at Potsdam with me as well. Just guys that I knew I could get the ball to in certain situations, and I knew they were going to score. But at the same time, I shot a pretty high percentage too. So we played really, really well together. We were just it was the best basketball I've ever played, actually. Even the times at Potsdam, when I moved on to Potsdam, we played some really good basketball there, but nothing like we did my sophomore year at North Country.
Did you guys play the in-out game a lot in that sophomore year? Low post, kick it back out. If you're hot one time, try to pop it. If not, you're dumping it inside. Because there's a lot of that game not focused anymore, and Joey and I do a lot of games. We don't see a lot of in-out games anymore. Everybody wants to shoot the threes.
We don't have many post players anymore.
Yeah, no.
College level, you're probably getting it, but the high school level, the post play is it's obsolete. In fact, you're almost to the point. This is my theory, but you're almost to the point. I won't front the post anymore because I'm not worried about him unless he's got his back back right underneath the basket. I'm not worried about them scoring because they don't have the post moves.
Yeah.
So I don't front the post and usually tell him to gamble for weak side help and things like that.
So did you see any of that up there at all? I mean, out or?
Yeah, we ran a 4-out 1-in motion offense. We also had certain sets that we ran too. We had set plays that we would run, but we could. Unlike the teams that I've coached at North Country, we've had a couple that have done really well with sets, and you can tell them, let's run this twice in a possession. We want to run the shot clock down. We want to get a good look off the second option, and we were able to do that. We've only had a couple teams since our team, and Chad will tell you this, that we're able to do it like we were able to do it. We were just smart. We played a lot of close games my sophomore year, a ton of close games. We probably had 4 overtime games my sophomore year, but obviously we had a couple of sophomores. We had like 4 or 5 sophomores that year, which helps. We weren't freshmen. Mm-hmm. We knew how to close out games, but the thing is now with a lot of teams, the game has become really guard oriented. It's not post driven anymore. We were lucky to have a kid a couple of years ago, Steve Carter at North Country, who was just an absolute stud, who went on to Damon on a full scholarship. But it's nice to have a big who you can get the ball in the post to and get easy looks.
Well, Joe, I don't know when you played, but I know when I played, we had big men in and out. And when your father played, the Brushton San River rivalry years ago was pound it inside, until they collapse on the inside and then kick it back out. Well, but I didn't have the 3-point line.
Yeah. That's
like
exactly
you guys
what I
have
was just
now.
gonna say.
We didn't have the 3-point line. We were bombing from way back then, but we didn't have the 3-point line.
Right.
So I mean, the game has changed a lot for the 3-point line. Now you almost have to come out and face those guys one-on-one, and that's where the outside game has really escalated in basketball today. And we don't have the inside game like Joey said, like we used to.
When you find that most post players now, they want to hang out. I'm sure Chad and you as coaches, you got to conform to it a little bit. You got to go with what they're working on, because I don't get to spend that kind of time with them where I can just say, hey, get your butt down in the basket and post up. So, but back when we played, Pete, I bet you. Everybody, it was a 3-out 2-in offense. I mean, 4-out 1-in was unheard of because you didn't have a 3-point line. You didn't try to space the floor out.
Right.
Most teams packed it in that old 2-3 zone because go ahead, chuck it. It's only worth 2. We want to make sure there's no layups. So that's how much the game has changed. And I am to you. You got to play with a 3-point line. I came in the year after I graduated, and I'm like, oh man, I would have lived behind this thing.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't they weren't looking at me to shoot. I was a passer more than anything when I played, but I would have loved to have been able to crank a couple from there, and it probably would have changed a lot of our games back in the 80s, of course. But we're going to take a quick break here and come back into our final segment with Scott Mitchell. You're listening to the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show right here on Empire State Sports.
Did you know that more people will visit a Tim Hortons this week than will visit Disney World in a year? Tim Hortons is a lot more than just excellent coffee. It is delicious baked goods, breakfast items, lunch sandwiches, and soups, and more than anything, Tim Hortons is an affordable experience. And now you can experience Tim Hortons here in Messina, opening this winter at 232 Main Street with 24/7 service. Food on the go will never be the same.
And welcome back to the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show, live here on Empire State Sports, better known as ESS. We're talking to Scott Mitchell. Now we're up to his going from the little school of North Country Community College and the Junior College League Athletic Association, and now we're going to move into Division III. And I'll turn it over to Joey Reno, but you switch over to Potsdam, big D3 school, and I'll let Joey elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, we'll start with how did it end up being Potsdam? Did Coach Dobbs, was he watching you at North Country? Or were you targeting Potsdam yourself? Were you even thinking of, I'm going to play somewhere my junior and senior season?
I obviously knew that I wanted to go on. I was pretty heavily recruited by New Paltz. Coach Pascarella from New Paltz. I remember him coming up to quite a few games. SUNY IT, where Chad went to school. They also recruited me, and Coach Dobbs. They recruited me pretty heavily too, and it was my dream since I was, 7 or 8 years old to go to Potsdam State and play. I grew up watching them play, so it was easy for me too because my family could go out and watch the games. It made it really, really simple, and it was what I wanted to do. So I committed to Sherry, and I had a tremendous, career at Potsdam. My freshman year, it was tough. I came in, I was a second string point guard. I was not used to it. The first 6 games, I remember it like it was yesterday. The first 6 games, I came off the bench. We went over to Hawaii to play in Hawaii in Kona. Played 3 or 4 games in Hawaii and I played pretty well over there. This is like 8 or 9 games into it, and we came home. We went on another road stand. We went to St. Lawrence, which is a rival for us, kind of a small rival, even though it's non-conference. And I remember him coming to me at halftime and saying, "Scott, you're gonna start this half." And we were down 10 or 12, and we ended up winning the game. I had 15 or 16 in the second half. I played right out of my mind, basically. And from that point forward, I started from there on forward. And it was mostly because, he brought me into the office. I remember Sherry bringing me into the office and saying, we've been charting the plus and minus on you when you're in the game. And he said, we're +8 when you're in the game. So we want to make this change. How do you feel about this change? I said, no, I've been working my tail off to try to get into the starting lineup, but I'll do whatever we need to do to win. We started out 5-0 that year, so it was tough for me to really say anything starting out 5-0 coming off the bench. I had to do what I had to do. We're winning. Why should I really, deep down in my gut, I wanted to be in the starting lineup, but we're 5-0. What are you going to say? Then we went on a 6-game skid. We were 5-6. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in. We were in Hawaii, and I played really well, and then we came home, and it just happened that way. And Sherry and I still, from that point forward, we had a great relationship. Not so much before then. We butted heads a little bit, but from there on forward, it was a great relationship, and we still have a great relationship to this day.
Now, the St. Lawrence game, was that at Potsdam State?
That was at SLU.
Okay, because there was a game I saw your senior year at Potsdam State, and for the life of me, I can't remember. I had just got home from corrections, moved back up home here. I can't remember, or maybe I was just up on a weekend venture, and I said, you know what, Scotty's playing ball at Potsdam in a home game. And I'm looking down, and I guess I'm gonna. This is where the friendship thing comes in. I'm looking out there, and I'm looking at this little squirt out there, and you're 5'0". And I'm thinking to myself, I remember him when he was a baby, and I'm looking at him, and I can imagine what your parents go through every day looking at this, and I'm going, man, I can't believe this kid's on this floor. Not that you haven't been there before,
right.
But I mean at this level, and I'm sitting there going, Jesus, I wonder if he can hang with these big boys.
Yeah.
And you came out in the first half. You had probably the worst first halves of your life. You couldn't hit nothing, Brick City. And I don't know what it was that happened in the locker room, but you came out for a halftime and you put on a shooting clinic that I've never seen. I don't even know what game it was.
SUNY IT.
Was it?
I think so.
The basket was on fire for you. It was like one of those nights, and we've all had those as players, where you blindfold you and it would go in. And I remember, and I'm just like, here we go, baby. Here comes the show. Here comes the show. It seemed like every other time down the court, you were bombing one up, and I guess I was kind of proud because I said, I've known that kid all my life. I said, look at this little squirt out there playing with the big men.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you can remember the team because I couldn't remember it. But I was in awe just sitting there watching you. I really was, because I remember going there and seeing Spoon and all those guys when the place was rocking back in the 80s, and I'm going, he's playing on the same floor down there. I was really in awe.
And that's why I wanted to go to school there. Seeing all those games, even as a little youngster, Dad bringing me out to those games and seeing the gym packed. And I remember the year that, the year that Sherry recruited me, would have been my sophomore year at North Country. They went to the Sweet 16 that year.
They did.
They played Salem State at Maxey Hall. Salem came into Maxey Hall, and this place was just packed. And I hadn't made my decision yet on where I was going to go to school. So Dad and I go out and watch the game. and this place is just rocking. It came. I think it was a 2-point game. It was a great game to watch, and I remember at like, I don't know, it was like 2 minutes into the game, I looked at Dad and I was like, hey, I'm going to school here.
Yeah.
For sure.
Send chills up your back.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I was able to play with an All-American, Dane Barton, at Potsdam. Great player, great guy. Ernst Decina, who actually just got married. He's another great player from Potsdam on that team the year before I got there. But those guys kind of set the tone for us, even my senior year. Although we didn't have a great year, I think the ball didn't bounce the right way a couple of games, but they were great leaders. Dane and Ernst were both great leaders.
Well, obviously Sherry made the right decision moving you up on the starting blocks for your senior year, because you ended up second in the SUNYAC conference in 3-point percentage. So he had to do something right. Obviously that plus and minus game that he was playing actually panned out.
For sure.
Was there? Now we've interviewed Sherry and Chad now, and so we've gotten to know. I just saw Sherry today at the Can-Am. But you had to play for both of them. Any big differences that you could say?
Yeah. Sherry is a great. He is a great teacher. I don't know if you've ever been to one of his practices.
I have been to 3 or 4 of his practices.
He's a great teacher in practice. And in terms of the big difference in terms of my personal feelings are that Chad relates better with his players than Sherry does. Not saying that Sherry doesn't, but I just related better with Chad. And but I do know that, not that I learned more from Sherry, but Sherry was a great teacher in practice. I learned a lot more defensively on the defensive side of the ball than I did from Chad. Both are different in terms of defense, offense. Chad's an offensive guy. He's going to kill me for saying that. Probably not. But
I think we all know it anyway.
Yeah. And Sherry's more of a defensive guy.
Yeah.
And that made me a better player. Going from coach to coach it's so different. I was able to play for Brad and Gary, then Chad, then Sherry.
You think about it. In a 6-year span, you played for 4 different coaches.
You have to adapt.
Yeah.
You have to adapt. If you're not able to adapt, then you won't play.
Right. Exactly.
And luckily I was smart enough to. That's I'm 5'0", 100 and I was able to play at the Division III level. And I'm proud to say that I was able to play at the Division III level. It's a tough thing to do. I mean, you guys seen games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of athletes on the floor, but I use my instincts and I use my head, and that got me where I was at.
Not to mention your speed. You're
a little bit.
You're a little fast. Yeah.
All right. So. Played a couple of years for Potsdam State, graduates from Potsdam State, and now he comes back and gets involved with his first alma mater at North Country, and Ben is admissions and finance aid counselor, and obviously in helping out on the bench with Chad. Now, what kind of experience has that been, being able to come back and work with your mentor, I guess?
It was a great experience coming back. I remember there was a learning curve for me at first, for sure, as an assistant, what I could do, what I couldn't do. One thing that Chad does really well with his assistants is he lets us be us. If we want to say something during practice, we can stop practice anytime we want to. He doesn't care. Stop practice. If you see something, stop practice and tell these guys that they're doing something wrong or they're doing something right. I'm more of an optimistic type of coach. If I see somebody doing something correctly, let's keep doing it correctly. Yes, we want to stop play for, things that they're doing wrong, but I'm more of an optimistic type of coach, and he's let me be me, and we also have some same outlooks on the game. We're both point guards, so we kind of see the game in the same light. I remember actually as a player, him calling me my sophomore year. We were getting ready to go play Mohawk Valley in regionals. And I was more of a coach on the floor when I played. I was like a second coach, so especially for Chad. And he called me up. I remember being in my dorm room, and he's like, "What are we gonna do? This is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do." And that's when I really it sunk into me that I wanted to be a coach. When I was done school, this is what I want to do. I want to be a coach. I love the game. I enjoy talking about the game. So I got done my senior year, and Chad had always told me that I could go back and help him out, but I didn't have a stable job. I needed a full-time job, and luckily I worked in the admissions office when I was there as a student, and my boss at the time, God rest his soul, he just passed away a couple of years ago. His name's Ed Trathen. He called me up on the phone and said, would you like to come back to North Country and work for me? He said, and be Chad's assistant. And I said, yeah, as soon as I'm done school, I'll be back. And
How long did you hesitate to say yes?
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even wait. I was like, yeah, I will be back for sure. Ed was a great guy. He passed away at the age of, I think, 45 or 46. But I miss him dearly, that's for sure.
Now you've been there since when? What year did you go back to North Country to work?
2007 is when I returned to North Country. I was part-time in the admissions office, and I was the residence hall director at the time. And then I moved over to admissions and financial aid about 2 years after that, full-time.
Okay, so then you're now assistant coach with the boys.
Yep.
And of course, the year that we start doing broadcasting, you take a year off.
I know.
All right.
I know.
But you're going back to the helm and assisting Coach Roy and Coach Ledoux this year.
Yes.
I'm sure you're excited to do that.
Very excited.
How much input do you have with Chad and Coach Roy, or Coach Roy and you have with Chad as far as the makeup of your team, of who's coming in of your recruitment team?
Fortunately, I'm at a computer all day. So if I have any downtime in the office where I can do some recruiting online, I will do that. As you guys know, Chad does a lot of recruiting. We have a lot of guys from overseas that come over and play, so we're able to interact with them through the computer. I mean, the internet is just such a powerful tool. Right now, we've had quite a few kids on campus for next year that we're recruiting, and Chad he solidifies the deal. If there's a certain player that I have that I like, obviously I send him the info, say, Chad, I like this guy, take a look at him, see what you think. And then we converse back and forth, and vice versa. He'll send me some guy that he's recruiting so that I can take a look at him and see what I think of him and if we should pursue him or not. But Chad's the one who really he solidifies the whole deal. But we can recruit who we want. We can give suggestions where we want. Chad's really great about that.
And you must like it's got to be cool for you being a Section 10 boy, and the fact that you're in Section 10, Section 7 country, North Country. It's North Country, and the fact that you do have some players from old schools that you played for and played against. It's got to be. I know that when we talked to Chad, we told him how much we appreciate the fact that he's able to mingle in the Michael Boyes and Gene Boye and yourself and Donnie Pat. Yeah, he's had two of my kids up there. I mean, it's an honor for me to have kids that are playing college basketball, right. Whether they play 1 minute or nothing. They appreciate it so much,
right.
And I just think it's awesome that Chad does that for our kids.
He does. He does a great job at recruiting local kids. I don't even know how to explain the man, but he's a really good recruiter, a good person. He does really well with making the guys, when they do come, a part of their family for the rest of their life. Drew, Michael, Ryan Lamica.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
We've had
Jared Heeden a couple of years.
Jared Heeden. Still, those guys to this day, we still keep in contact. Fortunately, they keep in contact with myself and Chad. Mm-hmm. But that's really why I miss it more than anything, really. I enjoy coaching. I love coaching, but I miss the guys, being around the guys. Just hanging out and doing stuff, going on road trips, going to the hotel room and talking about basketball, what they should do differently. And I have a different relationship with them than Chad does. Even though, Chad has a really good relationship with them, I can be more open and say, Coach is thinking you should do this, or maybe you should do that.
Well, and you're a little bit closer. You're still a little bit
In
closer
age.
in age.
Yeah.
And you played for him.
Right.
I mean, that's even a total. Not many people can say that when you're on the staff for the coach that you played for. Who's going to have a better idea what he wants out of you?
And like Coach Roy, having Coach Roy there he's another ear. Even having Joe next year.
Yeah.
Joe will be back, and that'll bring a new element to us as well, because it was Chad, myself, and Coach Roy, and then Joe came into the mix after I left. It'll be nice to have Joe there.
4 guys. I mean, imagine what I could do with 4 guys, Pete. Jeez, that'd be awesome.
He better use us wisely.
Oh, he's going to use you. He's going to use you. I don't know about wisely, but he's going to use you and abuse you.
I can't remember, Pete, if it was on air during our interview with Chad or if it was in between segments, but he did give you 2 compliments that he said, number 1, you're ready for he looks forward to the day when you get your own program. And number 2, he said when it comes to plays, because I was talking to him, I've talked to you a little bit, and I was talking to him about my guys and plays, and he goes, Joe, I'm not a board guy. He goes, boy, Scotty Mitchell can sit there and he can draw the whole thing. He knows what's going on. He goes, I got to have the people on the floor and move them like pawns. He said, Scotty is great during timeouts, so he gave you a compliment in that regard. He said he's got me on that.
That's where he lets. Like, if we're in a stressful situation, we're coming down to, the last 24 seconds in the game, last 15 seconds, he has no problem with me. If we have plays that we've worked on in practice, a final play, he has no problem saying, Scott, here's a board. Mm-hmm. Show him what we got to do. Show him, the play that we ran in practice yesterday. He's not... He has an ego, but not a big ego. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We all do. Yeah. We all do. But he has no problem saying, Scott, here's the board. Show him what we need to do. Let's get this win. He's all about, he loves to win. He hates to lose. We all do. But the kids really respond well to that too. It also shows that he respects us as coaches. Whereas, sometimes some of the kids may look at assistant coaches and go, he's an assistant, I'm not going to listen. I might not listen to him because I'm going to listen to the head coach. Luckily, we've never had that problem, and it's partly because of Chad. I mean, it's mostly because of Chad, because he allows us to be coaches.
I'll tell you one thing. When I started this a couple years ago, I was nervous, and then I got my feet wet with the high school broadcasting, and I pitched to my partners, and I know Joey being one of them, Tommy Smith and Michelle. It's like, I'm going to go after North Country. Mm-hmm. Only because Sam, my daughter, was going to North Country. I said, you know what? I'm going to go watch the games anyway. Right. Let's see if we can do a couple. They embraced us with open arms, and I really felt after the halfway through the soccer season, I probably did probably 10 of their games between the boys and the girls total, because we used to do double headers and all that other good stuff. They really embraced us, and I feel like a saint for life myself. And we've only been up there 1 year. That's awesome. When I go up there, I feel like this has been my home for years. Mm-hmm. And we want to embark on that, and hopefully next year really expand more and up there when we can, and going up on weekends. And Chad, who's being also the AD, stepping in the footsteps of the AD up there, the shoes there, I guess, if you want to say, has really embraced us too, because nobody's ever had. I guess I've never had anybody go up there and even do with what we're doing up there.
I know Chad would love it, and Jared as well. Jared would love for you guys to be up there for every game. It's those guys both love the game of basketball. They love sports. But they're also good to local people. Yeah. They want local people to come up. If you can come up and do the games, I know Chad and Jared would both be absolutely thrilled, along with Kent. Kent would be too. Yeah. I hope it does work out, to be honest. I really do.
It was a big stepping stone for us this year, because we talked about it. It's like, boy, it would be nice if we could do some college games. Yeah. And you got other radio stations, of course, in other colleges around here doing those, and then the ones you really want to do, you can't, because they got a contract with Time Warner and all this other BS that you have to jump through hoops with, and you can't do. Yeah. And I'm sitting here, hey, we can start at this little school called North Country Community College, and go from there. Mm-hmm. And there's some great athletes up there, and we've had a blast last year.
That's great to hear. Great to hear.
Okay, well, Scotty, we're going to give you a chance here to I mean, you got to talk about your family a little bit. Married with a kid. You have another on the way? Is that
I have a little one on the way.
Wow.
We find out Tuesday actually what we're having.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, you don't want a surprise? Or is this grandma really pushing it?
Grandma doesn't actually want us to find out, but we decided to find out. It's tough for us. We're planners, you know. We want to know what we're having.
Yeah.
But we're having a barbecue on Tuesday, and we will not know what we're having until about 5 or 6 o'clock. My aunt is making a cake. She'll know exactly what it is. And if it's a boy, the cake will be blue on the inside. If it's a girl, it'll be pink. We're going to cut the cake.
Oh, she
with
won't
all
know
the
until you
family.
open it up.
Won't know.
That's awesome.
They won't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and my daughter right now, she's 5. Her name's Addison. She's special. She's going to be an athlete. I can just see it in her. She's playing t-ball now.
Is Jared recruiting her already?
Yeah.
He better be.
I saw her in her dress on Facebook.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful girl.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
good. Anybody else you want to say?
No, I want to thank you guys for having me. It's been fun. It's
You're
been
more
great.
welcome. We're honored to have you here on our show.
Yeah,
And we'll be seeing more of you, of course, this winter coming up. Can't wait for basketball season. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. I said, I like other sports. There's just nothing about basketball that really gets our blood pumping. Like, you know. So.
You know, one thing that I will say before I do go is, without sports, you know, a lot of kids. Without sports, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. There's no way, you know. It brought me to North Country. I mean, I have a full-time job at North Country now because of sports. It's really the underlying reason why I have a job, why I've been successful. Sports are it's great. And just being here today, talking to you guys. I mean, I wouldn't have this opportunity unless I played athletics. I mean, athletics are great. It's great for kids to be in the gym, great for them to be on the field, and I will instill it in my kids till, you know, and hopefully they take it and run with it for sure.
Well, I for one have watched you grow from a baby up to a true man, and I thank you very much for being on our program. I can't there's just words that just can't explain how honored I am to have you on the show, and been knowing you all your life. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Scott. I will say, for me, as a coach, I was an assistant when you were playing, and went back in those days for me, because of the person I am. I always enjoyed watching good players on other teams. I wasn't out there trying to, root against anybody, and it was a pleasure to watch you play the game. And I didn't see you play at North Country, but just like Pete, I did get to see you play at Potsdam, because I did go to a lot of Potsdam State games back in those days. And I just think the world of you. I think you're a great kid, and great young man now. And we wish you nothing but the best. And
thank you.
We hope we'll be able to do some North Country games and hang out this winter.
Yeah, so for sure. Hopefully we'll be seeing you there.
Can't wait.
Yes.
All right, we've been talking to Scott Mitchell on the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Hope everybody enjoyed it tonight. For my partner, Joey Riem, we're going to sign off here on ESS, the Empire State Sports Program and Wise Guys Sports Show. Good night, everybody. Stay nice and cool in the North Country. Beautiful weather, and good night, Gus.